1,000-metre dash for the third, including the unbeaten Hot King Prawn. We'll get to him in a second. 4 debutants in the field in actual fact. This is a Class 3 over the 5 furlongs, headed by Hard Promise. Down in class, down in trip, behind Nothing I Like More last time out. Red Rose Warrior, Hong Kong debut, 2 out of 4. He won an Ireland in the UK. 4 out of 4 for Storm Signal in Australia, makes his debut here. Ace King, a last start course and distance winner. Dragon Pioneer, one of the synthetic in Australia, makes his debut. California Archer, belated debut for him. Hot King Prawn, 2 out of 2 in Griffin Company last season. Sun Touch, course and distance first time. And Gracie Dad, down in trip. We see him mostly at Happy Valley, but he's here at Sharten.
Yeah, I think we'll learn a lot in this race. Hot King Prawn's got plenty of gate speed he'll go on. Super Junior's got a lovely draw when he didn't have that last time out. Ace King often runs well, given the position he's got on the track. And 1 or 2 of these first starters are interesting as well. So, as I said before, there's lots to learn from this race. Looking forward to it.
The first one we'll look at here is California Archer. Now, he's got blinkers on for his debut run, and he did win with the blinkers on when he was in Australia. 11.27 pounds for this particular horse, and he looks pretty forward as well. Tongue tie on, hood on. He's got all the gear, and he's ready to go out and party. This is the second one here, which is with Sam Clippett on the board. Again, moving really nice. He's a nice horse, this one. I think he's going well, and wouldn't be surprised about a good run from him, fresh up down the straight 1,000 metres. Hot King Prawn, it's only slow work, but it's worth showing because he looks very tough to beat and a really nice progressive horse, this one. Unbeaten here in Hong Kong, just doing what he has to do. Looks really professional, this particular horse. So even though it wasn't doing much, I still thought would show it.
Excellent. Hard Promise, interesting jockey booking here. Joe Moreira jumping on board, takes a drop as well, 1,400 down to the 1,000. Yeah,
look, he's by Hard Spun as well, which probably, those horses are suited by the all-weather. He was pushed out a little bit. I mean, you've got to take notice when Joe Moreira jumped aboard. Barrier 10's not a bad draw for him as well. I haven't put him in, though. I think there's others here. I think it's quite a nice race, this one.
It's a very nice race. I've actually managed to sneak him in for 4th. There's 2 runs so far. He's been behind Pingwu Spark and Nothing I Like More, so they were quite strong form races.
And that was Red Rose Warrior as well. It's called Red Napoleon, trained by Rafe Beckett in the UK. Storm Signal's the next one we can have a look at. He's unbeaten, 4 out of 4 in Australia.
Yeah, the key with him, though, is that he had blinkers on for all his wins in Australia and then not racing him with blinkers here. So that put me off a little bit. 11.60 pounds and a barrier 3 down the straight 1,000. Yeah,
it was a nice trial, this, but yeah, gate 3 is not an easy one to overcome on the straight track.
That's Archipus in front. Super Turbo's just gone past him. He's still on the prize. He's obviously got a bit of an engine.
Oh, no question whatsoever. I would just would have liked to have seen those blinkers on for his debut run, that's all.
OK. Yeah. Dragon Pioneer, Styleman was his name. Kieran Maher raced him in Australia.
11.43 for him. He's been trialling pretty well, this horse. So this wasn't a bad trial, even though he was back a bit. Barrier 11's a good draw for him, but another one I didn't find a spot for.
Yeah, last time he trialled on the turf as well, he actually won it, so it was a pretty decent effort. But again, it's a tough ask for him first up. He's got a good gate, but it's in a competitive race.
Interesting, he won on the synthetic in Australia, but he starts on the turf here. That is at Dragon Pioneer, a Zoffany gelding. And the last one was his California Archer, who was supposed to start a couple of weeks ago, wasn't he? But didn't. He now start with the blinkers on.
Well, his 800-metre trial was good. This wasn't quite as good in the sense that he was being niggled along for a few strides as they turned for home. In the end, he was just kind of autopiloted home, but I would like to see a little bit more of him. I know he's likely to be good, but again, he's another one who he's going to have to be really good to win.
Yeah, I snuck him in on a minor line. He's one I did sneak in because I think he's better on turf than dirt.
Yeah, he has put in a good trial. So he'll race with the blinkers, which he hasn't trialled in, but he raced in Australia with the blinkers. They're allowing him to start.
Yeah, and he did win with the blinkers in Australia.
Yeah, 2 out of 2 in Australia as well. OK, so there's some of the debutants and the lightly raced ones. What about Hot King Prawn and his return? Jockey is Zach Burton.
Zach, Hot King Prawn makes his first step into open company, into Class 3 on the weekend. How do you feel he'll go?
Hopefully it goes well.
Has he made improvement from 2 to 3? Has there been development in that time?
I don't think he's improved dramatically. He feels like he's much the same horse as what he was last season. Obviously he's a little bit older and a little bit more streetwise, but he definitely doesn't feel like he's any bigger or stronger, or you know, he hasn't developed a lot anyway.
From what he did last season, though, does he need to improve?
I think he does, yeah. I think he was racing against some pretty weak opposition last year. It wasn't a vintage bunch of horses, and you know, now he steps out against some older, more experienced horses, and you know, he's going to have to be right on his game.
And you've ridden him in his trials. What have you made of his trials?
His trials are as good as they have been. He's always shown good speed. He's always done everything right. His first couple of trials were nice and quiet. His last trial, he done a little bit more, but he seems to go well up the straight. He's drawn not an ideal gate, but hopefully he can jump well and be right up there again, and we'll see what we've got.
Zach playing it down a little bit. He's a very nice horse. He's put on a bit of weight, but that might come with maturity as well. 17 pounds heavier.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's obviously a great prospect. My slight concern is, A, the draw, what Zach was saying about the lack of opposition last year, and it's quite a tough race to begin with, first up, so I think he'll be there or thereabouts, but he's a little bit vulnerable at the price.
I think he'll win, so there. I've got him on top. I just think he's a nice horse, and he's going to go right through the grades.
We just need to touch very quickly on Ace King last start. There's a few coming out. That Super Junior who tried to race on by himself. He's drawn, as John pointed out in the speed map, he's drawn on the rail this time. Yeah,
no, see, I'd forget his last start, because they tried different tactics and it just didn't work. Simple as that. So forget that. So I think he's a chance.
All right, OK. Yeah. But Hot King Prawn, he wins. Yeah,
got him on top. I think he's very, very tough to beat. Soul Special will give another chance to. He's a big price, $33 at the moment. Super Junior, you just touched on there. I think he can run nicely. And California Archer of the debutantes, I think he's probably the best. I'd bank of the 9 and the Quinellas and take those other 3 with it.
I've got to go with Super Junior on top here. I think, given he gets a nice gate towards the rail, I think he's got enough pace to actually bag that rail pretty early on as well. So I think he's going to go well. If you look back to his 1,000-metre form from the back end of last season as well, it's quite progressive. Hot King Prawn's going to run a good race. He may well win half the length of the track, but $1.50 from the gate towards the centre, I'm happy to take him on. Sun Touch is an interesting contender as well. He's run some good races at 6 furlongs. If you look back to May, he won a barrier trial down the straight 1,000 very nicely. I think it'll bring out the best in him. And Hard Promise, I think he's interesting now, down at 1,000 metres, down in class as well. I think he might run a good race from another pretty good gate with Joe Moreira aboard.
We don't know what Hot King Prawn will find off the bridle yet, do we? That's the thing. I think the answer is probably plenty, but we will see.